Chefs, what red flags should people look out for when they go out to eat? When the menus are super dirty and never cleaned, that means everything is super dirty and never cleaned. Waffle House. Ask where your oysters come from. If they don't know, you don't want them. Works for most seafood. The ocean. If a restaurant has a one-page menu, that's usually a pretty good sign. It means their line cooks have become specialists and can usually nail all the dishes listed. Conversely, if a restaurant has a giant, multi-page menu, that's a gigantic red flag. The longer the menu, the better the odds that you're paying to eat a boiled back frozen meal. Cook for a small Mexican restaurant here. I always look for how the staff interact with each other. If they all seem to enjoy being there and coordinate well, more often than not it's because everything is running smoothly and they have a good system, which usually means they know what they're doing and you can expect good food. That's how it always is for the smaller, family-run restaurants I frequent anyway, which I believe always have the best food. This is very true. We have an open kitchen, with customers often at the bar within earshot of us. We spend our shifts ripping on each other and generally talking crap, but all in good fun. Customers seem to get a kick out of how we all interact, like a family. We bicker, talk crap, yell sometimes. But at the end of the day we love each other and run a great kitchen. We went to a hole-in-the-wall Chinese restaurant with an open kitchen. This is the type of place where the menu is in Chinese with poor English translations underneath almost as an afterthought. We were the only non-Asians in the place. The food is delicious and very authentic. We had two not terribly adventurous 5-year-old girls with us that really wanted sweet and sour chicken. It was not on the menu. I asked our waiter if they could make it for them. His only response was a dejected "I will ask." He walked into the open kitchen and while staring at the ground, asked the chef if they could make sweet and sour chicken. The chef yelled at him in rapid Mandarin and the sous chef started throwing things. A pot hit the back wall. Our waiter stood his ground, not looking up. I stood up and caught the chef's gaze and pointed to the two wide-eyed girls sitting there. The chef immediately calmed down and nodded okay. And 10 minutes later our waiter brought out the best damn sweet and sour chicken the girls ever ate. Pictures of food on the menu that clearly aren't from the restaurant. I designed a menu for a restaurant and left spaces for the pictures. They said they wouldn't send any and told me to take pictures from Google. I have never eaten there. I would like to add I had no idea what some of these dishes were. My favorite was house special, but they didn't know what that would be. I was told to add something nice. Pastry chef here. As much as people say avoid specials, I can't speak for everyone, but at least in dessert/breakfast pastries, if you see something new it's worth trying. Chances are it's something the chef has been working on for weeks on their own time. There's a lot of love and effort put into it. Also, the standby if the menu is a book, it's probably not great. The biggest thing to keep an eye on OMO is the staff. If there's pissed off people, get out as fast as you can obviously. If everyone is kinda apathetic and not talking to each other much, get out. That's also a crappy environment. Everyone is probably really passive aggressive, and that's going to show. If people seem genuinely good with being there even if it's busy, or if there's playful ragging going on, that's where you want to be. The better the staff gets along, the better everything in the place runs. I have a family member who's worked in multiple different restaurants, and they always advise me never to get drinks with ice, because too many places don't keep their ice machines cleaned, because it's so often overlooked compared to other kitchen equipment. Ran a kitchen. Can confirm. When I started they only cleaned the ice machine and soda machine when black stuff was in the Mountain Dew. While I was there, it was bi-weekly for the ice machine and nightly for the soda machine. Not a chef, but worked in food a lot. Carpet. Yeah, it's quieter and doesn't get slick, but it is one of the most disgusting things I've ever seen. I saw them pull it up when they remodeled and put in more carpet. Vacuuming only goes so far in a restaurant and I know they never ever shampooed it. I clean carpet for a living, and yes, restaurants are often disgusting. The stuff we pull out is usually black slime because of grease and grit. Most of the people we clean for try their best to get clean regularly, but even then I find it hard to eat at those restaurants. I agree with most of these tips, but man, I remember my trip to Malacca, Malaysia. We walked up to a stall where an elderly lady was squatting down just in front of the sidewalk with a plastic basin and washing the dishes in it. Stray cats were coming in from the alley and licking at dishes. My first question was, is this a restaurant? Upon closer inspection, yes, it is. My second question was, who on earth would eat here? Then our guide brought us inside. Looks like we are. Food was amazing and delicious, and despite fearing the worst, nobody got sick. Edit. Wow, I didn't realize this comment would be so popular. Thanks Reddit. To answer the question why would you even eat there? Our trip up until that point had been very well planned. Stayed in a great Holiday Inn with a delicious international breakfast buffet. Tour bus was very clean. The highlight of the trip was when they took us to a pineapple farm and we got to sample. Hint: supermarket pineapple has nothing on the fresh stuff. Most of the restaurants we had been taken to were, by Western standards, quite clean. This one was definitely an outlier in that regard, but by this point we had developed a trust in our guide. I would never have even thought to walk into this place on my own accord, but then I would have missed out on some amazing food. If employees try to argue with you about food quality in order to dissuade you from sending something undercooked back, just leave. It means they have a cook who can't take criticism, and your chances at getting a sneezer are greatly increased. Back when my husband and I were dating, we went to a Thai restaurant, ordered broccoli and noodles, and when the dish arrived, we saw there were lots of black specks all over. Looked closer and they were aphids. Grossed out, we called the waiter over. He took a look and tried to argue with us that it was black pepper, not aphids. Dude, there were obvious legs and wings. He wouldn't budge, so we walked out and never went back. I've worked in restaurants for over a decade, a couple years in the kitchen and the rest as FOB. If your server's response to how is the item seems disingenuous, that's a big red flag. We know what goes on in the kitchen, we know the complaints, and we know which items to stress over when we deliver them. Servers who pause or seem uncomfortable with that question generally equates to a menu full of stuff we wouldn't eat even as a free shift meal. A good sign is when servers hang out and eat at the restaurant post shift. Generally we are getting a discount, but not free food. If we are spending our nightly tips on it, it's worth it. Cook at a fancy casual fine dining restaurant here. If your food is out impossibly fast, it's probably something to be concerned about. I'm talking ordering an entree and it's out in like 10 minutes. This usually means it's already been cooked, and they just have to reheat it. Now something like a salad, okay, that shouldn't take any time at all, but you want to make sure your lettuce, or whatever green it is still crunchy and fresh, otherwise it's been made before, and has been sitting. Generally speaking, watch the wait staff. If the majority of them seem disgruntled or upset, things probably aren't great. This often translates to the kitchen, so they probably don't care about your food if they aren't being treated fairly. Another thing to look out for is the cleanliness of the place. If the restaurant seems dirty or unmaintained, the kitchen is in similar shape most of the time. I've heard people say never order the fish on a Monday, or don't get any specials, because it's probably product that's about to go bad. But at my restaurant that's not the case. We get orders all throughout the week and our specials are things we are playing around with to see if it could be added to the menu. So I would say just be cautious about that sort of stuff. Also it helps to read reviews. I like to read the 1-star reviews to see why it was rated that way. If a majority of the reviews are for some really stupid shit and all the other reviews are great, you're likely going to get some kick-ass food and service. You all know the ones I'm talking about. Some Karen who left a 1-star review because her water ran out once during a huge crunch or something else totally ridiculous. How does the place actually smell? Does it smell like good food? Then it likely is. Does it smell like perfume or too sterile when these is clearly food on the tables? That could be a bad sign that they are trying to hide something less than pleasant. That's pretty much all I can think of at the moment. Not a chef. Front of the house. When my boss, the owner, used to host and people would complain to her about the hour wait on Saturday night at 7 PM and then threaten to leave, she would tell them, if the restaurant you choose does not have a wait on a Saturday night, you may not want to eat there, and then turn her biggest crap eating grin on them. Can I add you to the list? If you walk into a restaurant and hear Gordon Ramsay yelling at the staff, you probably want to leave. Unless it's one of Gordon's restaurants, of course. Why would I want to leave? Listening to Gordon Ramsay yelling at idiots is practically dinner and a show.